And then Michaela, if you'd like to get started, please
Yeah,
do.
of course. So we'll go ahead and get started and get going with the introductions. So my name is Michaela Rosenmeyer, and I am one of the program managers for the UiPath Academic Alliance. I focus on the United States region, and then we also have Ari on the call. She's going to be monitoring the chat for everybody, and she is in charge of Canada and LATAM. So we're really excited to have three very excellent educators here to talk with you all, and I will let them introduce themselves, starting with April.
Hi, I'm April Morris. I'm a professor at Cal State Fullerton here in California. And I think we were the very first university in the US to develop an academic alliance with UiPath back in 2019, I believe. So welcome.
Perfect. And then Santiago.
Hi, everybody. I am Santiago Aguirre. I'm a faculty at the Business Information Systems Department at Central Michigan University. I'm very happy to be here to share some of our experiences with UiPath and RPA.
Thank you, Santiago. And then finally, Vishal.
Yes. Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Arya. Thank you, Deanna, for having all of us. Again, my name is Vishal Shah. I'm a faculty in Central Michigan University dealing with SAP program. And we're trying to get more automation in our program with Santiago. So happy to talk to you about what we experienced here and how you can replicate some of that. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Perfect. And also, before I get started with the first question, I just want to reiterate, please go ahead and put questions in the chat. Since we are kind of a smaller group, I'm happy to put your questions above the questions that we prepared for the panel session today to make sure, whatever questions you might have come with do get answered before we finish our time. So I'll start with one question to kind of get us warmed up. And it's kind of the beginning question of what inspired you to begin teaching automation and how do you see its importance in the current educational landscape? So I kind of snuck two questions into one on y'all. But if anyone has a response and wants to get started, please go ahead.
Sure, I'll get started. So I teach actually in the School of Accountancy, but I teach the technology group in the School of Accountancy. So when you look at what has transpired over the last 10 years, the whole field of accounting and finance has jumped into the automation field. And so back in 2019, when I first had my discussions with UiPath, I was familiar with some of the firms that were just starting to use UiPath. And I figured this is a good time to get our students up to speed and have them, when they graduate, have some of these technology skills that could really help vault them into the next level of their careers. And it's been golden for most of my students. They get out, they're using UiPath right away. As a matter of fact, some of the firms are having them teach it to their people. So I'm a big believer in it. I think it's got a lot of application in the world of accounting and finance, and I love the program.
Thank you so much for sharing that, April. Santiago, I see you're off mute, so I'll call on you next.
Yeah. For me, like teaching automation is it was like a natural evolution, because many years ago I started teaching workflow management systems, then BPMS automation, and now we have RPA and AI agents. So the evolution has been really fast. So it's really important for us to keep our curriculum up to date. And companies are demanding this kind of skills from our students. So it's really essential for us to include this in the curriculum.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. I'm hearing a lot of similarities so far. You can go, Vishal.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think just to add to what Santiago and April was saying, I think we saw a lot of kind of a gap between what the students had and what the industry was demanding, and the way the systems the technology is moving fast. So I think there's a lot of potential for us to prepare students and work with the industry, and that was the impetus between when we started the event last year. So that's really driving force that we want to close the skills gap, at the same time make it meaningful for the students in the industry. So like that's the idea. Yeah.
Perfect. And then I really wanted the next question, because one of the top questions I always get from educators, especially educators starting or maybe ones that want to kind of add on more content to what they're currently teaching, is kind of what are other educators doing in the classroom? Were there certain factors that made you choose, certain concepts or certain, whether it be like PowerPoints or Academy or exercises or projects? So just kind of giving a little bit of overview of kind of what you do in the classroom and kind of how you got to that decision and really think that it's fulfilling your student objectives. So again, sorry, I know I'm asking a lot in in one question, but if you don't mind, Michelle, I'll start with you to kind of change up the order a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think it is kind of a natural progression for us in some ways, like Santiago mentioned, because we have SAP program, which is a central, it's a very central entity, and it has a lot of business processes that we need to automate. And we saw an opportunity to combine with the UiPath. And idea was, I learned a little bit when I learned about UiPath in 2020, and then I learned more from Santiago because he's been doing it for a longer time. But the idea was to get something that they can start it quickly and have a structured programming. So your academic alliance has a lot of structured programming, a lot of bite-sized learning. That helped us to kind of say, well, students can do this and then come to us, and then we can work with them. So it kind of built on top of each other. So I think starting simple with a smaller idea, and then and I will also I will also ask Santiago to comment on it, because we had a workshop that led to these events. So this is the outcome of it, and there's more planned in the next year. So yeah. So that's sort of an idea, that we started with something that could be concrete, small, and people could latch onto it rather quickly from all backgrounds. And we had UiPath Academy and your alliance offerings, which were sort of self-serve. So it's easier for us to get started with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, Santiago, do you have anything to add? Because I know y'all work together usually.
Yeah. To complement what Michelle said, we start with like small workshops to promote the interest in the topic in the field, and once we have that, then we also did like a revision of our curriculum, of our courses, to see where we can include these topics. So we found a course where like a perfect fit with for these topics. So we are also working in curriculum redesign to include the RPA, and also we have our competition. So last year we created the RPA Champions Challenge, where we have 40 students competing for scholarships with using UiPath solutions. And so we started small, and then with the curriculum updates and with events and competition, then we are like scaling the program. And regarding the materials, well, we emphasize on hands-on learning, right? So we created like business cases based on real like business problems. And we didn't, as Michelle mentioned, so we don't use only RPA or RPA solutions, because in the industry, companies have ERP systems. Also, we include OCR for document understanding. So we try to include different technologies in our business cases, so that our students can integrate those technologies to solve, like, we can say, real business problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because if you just know how to use a technology but don't know how it works with other ones, it's really, really hard to kind of figure out how it's really used. I'll let April answer the question as well, and then we'll go to a couple audience questions.
Right. So when I first got introduced to UiPath, I spent some time with some of our prior students within some of the accounting firms to ask what they were doing with UiPath. And so I know that from the tax side, they were trying to create systems that would read PDFs and summarize PDFs at 10, whether it's K1s or 1099s or whatever. So I started with that, but then it evolved. And so with my students, because I am in the side of the accounting side, I always start my UiPath lecture off with how many of you want to retire. And of course, I get everybody's hand up, so I have their attention. So what we do is I have them use and create a robot to go to the Securities and Exchange Commission's website and to scrape the data on Berkshire Hathaway for 12 quarters. And from there, they have to take that with UiPath, and then they put it into either Power BI or into Tableau to come up with what the trends have been by industry, by company, and things of that nature. And this is for the students, they're very interested in this, and they get to the point where it's kind of exciting. So in my class, what I do, I introduce UiPath. We actually walk through the entire interface of UiPath, the tools and how to do it. And I will start with a very simple iterative robot and we'll create it. And then from there, they need to create the UiPath robot. To help that out, I have developed at Cal State Fullerton an analytics lab staffed by students who have been in my class in the past. So students go in there, they talk about UiPath, if they're having trouble with the Berkshire robot, they get help there. If they want to do something else that's of importance to them, all those students can help them with it. So it's really a vibrant learning environment where the students use, I think we had 3,000 appointments last semester or last academic year in the analytics lab, and a lot of those were UiPath. How can I make this faster? How can I do this? How can I do that? So I find it to be a very challenging program. However, once they get the hang of it, they're all over it. And we do use OCR for reading PDFs now. And so I think we use a lot of the structures of UiPath to help students get more efficient in what they're trying to do.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I think this is a great place to pause for questions because I thought this would be the most exciting question for sure. So Dr. Priya, I saw that you've had your hand up. If you don't mind coming off mute, feel free to share with our panel.
You're on
I'm sorry,
mute.
I might not be able to hear
There you
you. I know you took off mute, but there's something going on. We still
Can't
can't
hear
hear
her.
you. So maybe
Maybe.
if you don't mind trying something with your computer,
Yeah.
and then we come back to you.
Yeah. While she asked a question, yeah, maybe maybe I
Michelle.
can add to it that we have a business process focus. So in addition to this data analytics, there is like the whole business process that they automated, like procure to pay or order to cash, maybe we get to this point later, but I see in the audience DJ Lombardo, and DJ was one of our industry mentors. So thank you, DJ, for attending. But so this is very this is the idea that we have is just connecting the industry people with the students, and they work through the problem and real world problem, and then present it back to them. And that was a competition that Santiago was referring to. So thank you, DJ. Appreciate that.
No, I love that. And I'm sorry, Marianne, I'll come back to you, but just because we're kind of on this topic, I saw Martha posted, which is something that we can definitely help with, but also want to hear y'all's perspective. So she said, I'm interested in business cases or success stories to my students. To tell my students real cases. So as you just mentioned, Vishal, like with you getting, kind of real cases, and also you, Santiago, is it more just reaching out to companies that, are in the area, or kind of where do you really kind of highlight to students that this is what they're going to see in the real world? And this is open to all of you, of course. if you want to add anything that you've said. I know, April, I think you go to a lot of the Big Four kind of educator events. Is that really where you kind of get your kind of ideas for business cases and stuff like that?
Yeah, I get my ideas from them and from my former students. One of my best success stories from one of my former students was that he, even though he graduated with a degree in accounting, he was so good at UiPath that and this company that hired him has SAP, so they were looking to go into the HANA environment, and of course UiPath does a great job of putting together some test cases for the migration to HANA. So he was actually hired in the IT department because of two reasons. One, his knowledge of accounting and things that needed to be done and how this all worked in the world of accounting, because it's a huge international company. And he has now been promoted 3 times since he was there, and he's been there for 2.5 years. But he has done extraordinarily well, and he is using both his accounting skills and his UiPath skills. And he comes to my class and helps teach my students on the UiPath. So it's a big, and they love him, and they love the fact that he's talking about, you know, his pathway to success. And several of my students are trying to kind of go that same route. So
yeah, especially because I feel like they would see somebody that's, no offense to anybody, but more closer to age or more closer to where they are in their job journey, and seeing how that can possibly impact them, even maybe at more entry level positions too, I would think. Perfect. And then I'm going to go to Marianne's question. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, you go, Santiago. I apologize. You go.
No, I want to add that so there are different sources for these business cases and exercises. And one really good source is the UiPath Learning Hub. So I've used this Learning Hub to get some of the business cases that we use. And also, as Vishal mentioned, so we have on last year's competition, we had like a mentorship program, and so we have 40, no, it was like 10 teams in that competition, and each team was assigned to an industry mentor, and one of our industry mentors, I think, is here. Yeah, so we talk with the industry mentors to see what are the needs, what are their business problems, and based on those needs, we created the business case for the competition. So that's talking to the industries is really a good way to get ideas about how to structure this kind of business cases for our students.
Right. And I think, just to add to Santiago, some of the students that have done this before even we started the competition, they became successful, and they, a couple of them went to Ashlink Partners, and they became the former students, and they came back and they motivate other students. So I think it's a cycle where you sort of create this pipeline of people who are interested in it. So yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Helpful. I wouldn't have even thought to go back to former students. So that's really good ideas that y'all are bringing today. And then just wanting to kind of go to Marianne's question in the chat. She said it'd be helpful to know what learning courses or UiPath exercises that y'all are using in your classes. So I guess, UiPath specific material, and if what you kind of supplement with any exercises that you created or be willing to share with us as well.
Yeah, I take advantage of some of the UiPath learning modules. For example, I'll take advantage of the modules that may talk about, creating loops, or the ones that may talk about integrating UiPath with Excel, things of that nature. It just depends on what I'm teaching that semester. I go through the learning modules and I pick the ones that are going to be most relevant to the class that I'm teaching. And maybe, I'm mixing some things up and changing one semester to the next. So all of my students actually go through several of the learning modules on UiPath just to get them more familiar with the software, what it can do, how it works, the nuances of it. And I think it's been very successful for them. And I'm happy to share those modules if you would like to know what they are.
Yes, that would
Perfect.
be great.
And I would like to add, when Santiago actually and Arya and Michaela, we worked with the reverse engineer the business case, and Santiago went through the list of classes that we gave to the students, and it was so it's that's also possible depending on your use case. You can pick and choose, and if you want a procurement related, what we gave to the students and what Santiago had developed, I think it is useful. This is because as your material also keep changing, so yeah, so yeah.
Super fair.
Yeah, no, just that is just the nature of technology, right? So,
Technology, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're staying in the same place, you're getting
Yeah,
past. So
yeah.
unfortunately, it means
Yeah.
lots of updates and changes.
Yeah, but what I mean to say is that the sort of reverse engineer what the final outcome is, and then map it to individual components, and then that's what we did. And thank you both and Santiago for so yeah.
No problem. No, I think that's really interesting. Oh yes, Bob, you can go next.
Thanks. I wanted to ask Vishal, since you all are a University Alliance school and you're doing some things with SAP, if you could share some of the things that you're doing between UiPath and SAP, because there seems to be kind of some idiosyncrasies with that in Studio versus Studio X, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think we could do that. Just a caveat though, because they script our system, so that might be something that, from an authorization standpoint, that would have been need to work out. But with the UCCs, for example, but that's we are happy to do that. I think, yeah.
So what we're
Yeah,
hearing is that you're not doing it right now.
Sorry.
You're not doing it right now. You're not integrating UiPath with SAP right now.
We already
Oh,
done that. Santiago had a point. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, we have developed some SAP automation use cases. So, for example, the invoice receipt process or invoice receipt activity in a procurement process. So we have developed a use case where students receive a PDF, like the invoice from the vendor, and then they use OCR to read the PDF and convert that into an structured data. And with UiPath, you can automatically create the invoice received in SAP as part of the procurement process. So we have some use cases that we can share with us if you need to, if you are interested. We have those use cases. Integrating SAP, integrating UiPath to automate SAP tasks, and also using other technologies like SAP VTP, the OCR component of SAP VTP. So yeah, we'll be happy to share that.
Can you tell us if you're doing that through Studio or through Studio X?
Studio X, yeah,
Okay.
we're doing that through Studio X. Yeah.
Perfect. And then I'm gonna keep you on the mic for one more second, Santiago. Someone's asking, can we use UiPath with SAP Signavio? Do you know the answer to that? Sorry to put you for more of a technical question on the, I don't know the answer either, so we can definitely look into that for you, Caesar, and follow up if necessary.
What we're not using SAP Signavio, but so in one of our courses, we start with business process understanding and business process analysis. So for the business process analysis, you can use either a process mining tool. It could be UiPath or a different tool like SAP Signavio or Solanis, to analyze the business process and to find automation opportunities. Once you find the automation opportunity, then you can use UiPath to execute the automation. But we don't have experience or like integrating SAP Signavio, because that's from my point of view, the business process analysis is an important step before the automation. So it's not really like integrating this technology, it's using these technologies to analyze the business process, and then you can automate the business process. I know.
Yeah.
That's clear. Yeah.
If I may add to that,
Yes, please.
just to that question, I think maybe you first use Signavio to find the inefficiency and then come back to UiPath to automate that. But also you could possibly just use UiPath for process mining as well. So because in the quadrant, they're also in the process mining group, right? So I just from standpoint of the question, I kind of don't see like the need for doing that, because one thing has to be done first and then it leads to the other thing. So that's just my sense of that. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank y'all so much. And then the next question that we have is from Dr. Priya, and I apologize, we never made back to you after your computer problem. So if the mic is working, feel free to come off mute. But you were asking if anyone's included anything with AI or agentic automation in your curriculum, which we were actually talking about right before this call. So I don't know if anyone has anything they want to add to this, or it's something that we're all aspiring to do with the call.
I would say that's something I'm aspiring to do. I think the AI side of things is it's just becoming more and more talked about, more and more an absolute necessary skill for students to have, not just knowing AI, but also understanding how to question the results of AI, because it's not the end all be all. I've given my students some AI projects to do in my class, and so far we use ChatGPT 4. So far, the results have been less than stellar, with almost 100% error rate on the results that have come back from ChatGPT. But they need to understand what questions how to delve into the responses to make sure that what they're getting is accurate. So.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot coming out, a lot to learn, and it's coming out very quick, and a lot of information for all of us, for sure. All right. So the next question that I want to kind of pivot to, so we kind of talked a lot about, what we include in the classroom, a little bit about your journey to get there. So kind of thinking about it as a journey, what lessons have you learned along the way that you want to save some educators here on the call some time, or, what challenges have you, found really great solutions for, just kind of however you want to take it to kind of provide some guidance or lessons learned as y'all have kind of progress on this journey would be great.
Lessons learned. My number one lesson learned is to make sure students understand the concept of variables. That is the number one thing they get tripped up on, is understanding variables, how they're used, what container they're used in, whether they're for the entire workflow or they're for a section of the workflow. So I do now spend an awful lot of time talking about variables and walking through the container structure and where these variables are usable and where they're not usable, and how do you define these variables? Are they going to be a string? Are they going to be numbers and things of that nature? So I think that was the hardest thing for most of my students originally to get their hands around.
And another lesson, is to start small, because you don't need to do like big curriculum changes to include these topics in your courses. You can start with a small workshop to introduce the concepts, and then you can scale, from a workshop to include these topics into the curriculum in maybe one course, and also you can create based on these events or competitions. So start small and then scale the program.
Yeah, I think you know, April and Santiago, I think, covered it, technical part of it, and then the scaling part of it. The main important part of that is that since UiPath is cross-sectional in nature, somehow you have to, when you scale, other people can buy into that this is a possible use case for different departments also, because this is not just information systems, it's accounting, it's finance, supply chain. And when they see that happening, people from accounting get interested, people from, you know, supply chain get interested, and that's really what we want. Is not just a specific to a department, it's a tool for everybody to automate and improve. And I think that if we do that, what Santiago said in terms of scaling, and then it comes back to our classes, creates a lot of buy-in, institutional buy-in, and that's very important for us to continue to do what we want to do.
Yeah, that's a very important. Those are all good things to learn, and I like how we kind of got a range of things from very technical or applicable right away, and then just also how to look future forward. Bob had a question directly for you, April. What is the overall course where you teach UiPath, and how much time do you devote to it in this semester?
Yeah, so I developed a class called Emerging Technologies in Accounting, and I developed it a couple of years ago. So UiPath is one of the components of that. We do Python, UiPath, Alteryx, Power Query, Power BI, Tableau, and a little bit of SQL in that class. So they have a really high level on everything. But for UiPath, I spend 2 whole classes. So the class is 2 hours and 45 minutes each. So I spend about 5.5 hours on teaching UiPath from beginning to end. And just as Santiago mentioned, the very first introduction is very small, a very tiny workflow. Get them used to it, get them looking at it, thinking about it, and then we just continue to add on for 2 full classes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, April. And I'll take a pause. Does anyone else have any other questions? They want to come off mute or real quick throw them in the chat? I'll take a quick pause right now.
I know that Dr. Priya has been trying to come off mute, and you have some experience that you want to share. So if you want to try again. We can't hear you. No, I don't know what's going on. I know they put in the chat that you have really good connect with industry for knowledge and transfer with community MVPs in India. It would be great. And the other thing that I was thinking about, I don't know, April, Santiago, and Vishal, if you would, and this is, I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but if you want to put your LinkedIn's, or if anybody wants to put the contact so that you guys want to connect or interact. I know that some people mentioned wanting use cases, and Santiago and Vishal, you mentioned being able to share it with the rest of the professors. So please do feel free to share your contacts, and what we want is for this to be an opportunity for you all to network and, you know, share your experiences, share your questions, and yeah, so please do feel free.
That's no problem. Thank
At NC State, and Bob Busey, who's on this call, worked with me. I have them go through the introduction to automation course, and then we jump right into doing some exercises that I've gotten on UiPath website. And we also have developed with Michaela an SAP an assignment to interface UiPath with SAP doing purchase order information. So that's really cool for my ERP class. But what I really would like to do is what April's talking about, is give more of an in-depth of containers and variables and loops and all that. I was just kind of curious if anybody had some PowerPoints they could share that I could use in my class, just to give more of an introduction to UiPath, like I do for Alteryx, for instance. Or if there's something available that I don't know about.
Yeah,
I don't use PowerPoints in my class. We typically just walk through it, but I do record some of the classes that I have, and I have made some YouTube videos for things that I know students get really tripped up on, and so I do assign them to watch some of those YouTube videos. But I haven't really done the PowerPoints because I find it much more effective for them to open up the program and understand, kind of in their minds, put a list of things that they want to do, and then we start from the top and work it through.
Yeah. And there's also, so on the UiPath Learning Hub, there's some material to automate SAP tasks where you can find PowerPoints and exercises.
Yeah, and our students, one of the preconditions, like Santiago said, was to complete a set of work on the academy before they can actually work on the challenge. So there was a significant work that they have to go through, I think, number of hours in terms of number of hours. And then when they finish that, they can work on the SAP integration. So yeah, so it's some kind of a filter. It's sort of a filter, in some ways. We filter out students who are self-selecting. So that.
Does anyone else have any questions right now? I saw your request, Bruce, which I will look at. But any other questions from the chat? Or from the audience, not from the chat, sorry. Sound like a streamer or something. Right. So I think I just then, if we don't have any other questions right now, just kind of want to do one final question. Our audience has been so good. We've been kind of looking forward to the questions I already have prepared. So I'm just going to kind of make it a little bit more broader for final question, just maybe you want to share. I know we've already shared some of the student stories, but if you have another student story that you would really love to share, or maybe you want to share like, oh, I met this member of industry and they completely changed. So I'm just kind of combining the last two questions that we had on the docket. If you feel like you haven't been able to share an experience that you really wanted to share today, feel free, and we'll kind of do it as closing notes. We'll let Dr. Priya try first while y'all think of your closing notes. Dr. Priya, let's see if you can get through the chat. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a good question.
Hope I'm audible right now. So
Yeah,
I'm from India, and I'm associated with UiPath since 2021. And I'm faculty in the Engineering Institute for Robotics and Automation Department. So basically, we are having UiPath for postgraduate student, but I'm teaching for 45 hours of session along with the academics, which support I am getting from the community MVPs. So whatever session I feel which is a critical, like they want to integrate to the different platforms, I will take help of them. They will conduct the session in the form of workshop. So we have really good example of the students who who presented their work to the conferences, and we have able to publish the papers for the UiPath automation, wherein students are working on the different scenarios and cross-platform things. And along with that, we are also having some of the platforms where students are tried new things, like they have created one ticket buddy, and that will be giving the tracking of the train status along with the track number of the person. So that is the real time use cases they have used to showcase their talent, and that really helps. So every year what I do, I give them a theme that you have to work based on the Excel automation and the PDF automation or the OCR, and students are coming with really good ideas. And for that reason, for the first session, I make them to automate their laptops. So generally we are using flipped classrooms, right? So in flipped classroom, I ask them to automate your classroom such that in the early morning, 9 a.m., it will give you notification automatically. So your bot will give you what assignments you need to submit. So they find it very crazy thing, and after that they try to explore it more and more, and that will help me to grasp their command on the particular tool. But I am really looking forward for the AI center and all those things, because those modules are not available for us as an academic partner. So I'm working on that.
Perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for
Thank you.
sharing another example of what educators are doing in the classroom. I appreciate that, Dr. Priya. And then, yeah, just if anyone has anything, last notes, anything that they want to share. If not, then we'll just close it out a couple minutes early.
And I would just like to add, like what Dr. Priya was saying, that giving students independence to explore and let them self-select is kind of a it has been very useful to us. And with folks like DJ Lombardo is here, and our connections with Dow, and there is a general sense of where people want to solve the problem, and if we can elevate that to, well, there is a problem to be solved and there's a tool that is great at it, have at it, and we create an incentive for that, that seems to work. And with Santiago's help, and we have been doing that and scaling it and making a case for it. So yeah.
Thank you,
So
Vishal.
thank you.
Anyone else? All
Yeah,
right. Well, thank you
I'll say
so much.
that. Yeah,
Yes, please go,
just one
Santiago.
last
Please.
comment. Because the best feedback we receive from our students, and when they come and they tell us that they receive a job offer because of RPA knowledge. So I think that's the best feedback we have received from learning RPA in UiPath.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah. So thank you. And working with the MVPs and Naveen, and Naveen is not here, but yeah, helped us out. Cynthia. So thank you for doing
Thank
things
you
that with us. Yeah.
for saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay,
Well, thank y'all so much for. Oh yeah, you go, Bruce. Sorry, I keep trying to close y'all out. I'm so sorry. You go.
Yeah, no, that's all right. One of the articles that you sent me a couple of years ago was that Accounting Horizons article from 2017 that I think is probably relevant specifically to this group. And it said what are two most important tech developments in accounting, and it said AI and automation. So I think Marianne was asking about, how do you start it and to introduce the topic. We spent some time analyzing how it's going to be relevant based on that Accounting Horizons article to the people who are going into tax, to the people going into auditing and advisory, so that they understand the relevance of it to their career. And then we had a practitioner come in and say how he had implemented it to with this huge ROI on being able to bill and track smaller customers that would not have been worth the time to have people tracking these, but automation was able to bring them a lot more revenues in. So between demonstrating the relevance through that paper and having a practitioner address the class, that seemed to get us off to a pretty good start.
Yeah, no, definitely. Starting with the why before the what can really change motivations for sure. Thank you for sharing that, Bruce. Great. All right, so I'm gonna last try. Thank y'all so much for spending the time with us, and thank you so much for our panel members for sharing your expertise and your knowledge, and really being there for other members of academia out there that would include UiPath. A lot of different contact information has been included in the chat. But feel free also to reach out to me or Aria if you forgot to grab an email or a LinkedIn. We'd be happy to connect you with any of our panel members. And I hope everybody has a very lovely and safe weekend, and everyone is done with their spring courses and looking to better horizons and a little bit of relaxation for a while. So thank y'all so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Sandy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.